Here we go, back with more of How to Fortress Your Dwarves. This is Ampillion, and we're gonna mess around with this whole survival underground type thing we've got going on. And a brief introduction to the Burrows system. We're not gonna go in too far in depth into Burrows just yet, because I haven't actually dug up a decent setup for like a self-sufficient burrow, but we're gonna show off what they do outside of that. What do we got here? We're just kind of showing off the fact that we are still surviving underground, and we've got 2 squadrons of guys training. We're hoping to get them geared up and trained up good enough that they can go and take care of these goblins that are hanging around outside. And essentially what I've done is walled myself off from the outside world for the time being. It might not be the most glorious thing to do, but it's better than having a few trained goblins come in and murder all your dwarves. And right now, I'm pretty much self-sufficient. So long as you've got a decent food source, normally farming is the best way to do that. If you've got the food source, if you've got a water source, and you've got defenses or a wall of some sort to put in your way, you can pretty much survive indefinitely underground. Now, the problem, of course, is that you're going to eventually, have people come to trade, and it's going to be quite a risky endeavor to actually get people up there to trade with them, even if they get to survive. I mean, sometimes they'll wander into the zone, and they'll run right across those invaders that are hanging out there, and they will get killed. The only thing that will hold you back from doing this is trees. And there is a way you can set up an underground forestry. You can grow tower cap mushrooms and such. However, it does require a specific tile set. You need to have an underground river of sorts to be able to do that. And I currently do not have that. So, we will have to make do with what we can. Here's our goblin invaders right now. The green-skinned bastards hanging about up here. You see them like kind of milling about, and they've kind of torn up the grass up there. They've just been milling about there for so long. Now, we've got a few things going on. We're still going about our business as if we were, still trading and still doing our thing. We still need to keep the dwarves working so that they can get their skills up. We also do need to create more armor and weapons for our dwarves so that they can get into better shape and be able to handle said goblins when it comes to it. We've still got plenty of materials to make metal armor, so we should be good to go on that front. I did kind of try to set up the bridge there as a wall, but I kind of goofed up and forgot to switch it from... Oh, let's get the Burrows real quick. The Burrow system essentially lets you draw a zone for burrowing. It designates this area as a burrow, and lets you can add people into the said burrow, and what happens essentially is that they will do their everyday business within that zone of influence. Now, that means that they will go to sleep, they will work, they will eat, they will do everything they possibly need to within said zone. The other thing that they can do, if you don't set people specifically to that zone, is you can set them to be alarm zones. And in this case, that burrow that I have set up, as soon as I go into the military options there and set the alarm to that particular zone, or that particular burrow, all your unassigned civilians will run to that specific burrow, which is really good if you have a position that you want them to be underground. If we didn't have this whole area walled off as we do right now and invaders came, that's the first thing you want to do, is get them all to a safe spot so that they're not getting maimed and murdered while out running around. This essentially will protect them from... A lot of dwarves will happen to have a bad habit of getting out and about especially during an invasion. And if anybody dies, they immediately want to go recover the wounded or the dead, so they will go and run and get themselves killed. So that's the best way to kind of set them to get back to a safe location. You can, like I said, you can also set burrows. You can set burrows to be sort of self-sufficient cave areas, and you can specifically keep dwarves of certain types in those areas to work on limonite. You can keep those dwarves within those areas to work. Say you can keep all your craft dwarves in one specific burrow, so that they only go to their workshops within that burrow, that they work with only materials in that burrow, and they will go to sleep and eat within that burrow. So it's a good way to sort of work out a better efficiency for your fortress, and it takes a little fine-tuning to get everybody working within the burrow system as it stands. You kind of have to have dwarves working in between the burrows so that you can keep specific burrows stocked with goods, so that those burrows can keep working their specific tasks. Now it's showing off the artifact screen there, and you notice that there was one of those that had mentioned the emerald mug, which the emerald mug was made on the previous fortress. So somebody had heard about said awesome emerald mug and decided they would make an image of it on their particular artifact. Sorry, I got a little bit distracted there by the wandering animals, and I kind of don't want to have to redo the entire commentary track because the animals are annoying me and very talking. So, let's see, what else do we have in this video? At the very end will be a large list of all the building shortcut keys. I would suggest holding on to those. You might kind of pause or screenshot them for later use. You'll notice that as you get more and more migrants into your fortress, you will end up with a lot more animals to boot. Well, the animals, they don't really so much as take up space in your fortress or anything. They do, however, create a lot of chaos with all the constant moving about, and since it's not so much a problem you have to deal with per se, but it's definitely kind of clutters up your screen, and it can in fact end up lagging your system up a bit too if you get too many. The animal screen will let you check out specific animals and set them for butchery, or set them up as pets if you want to keep them from just milling about in specific areas. They usually will mill about in the meeting hall for some weird reason. The best way to set up butchery, on the other hand, is to go ahead and once you've chained up specific animals, like I've got over here for the breeding pairs, any animals that pop out past that point will be at the very bottom of the list, and you can see just kind of work your way from the bottom to the top, unless you've specifically taken younger animals and chained them up for the breeding, that you can go from the bottom to the top and kind of just butcher specific animals on the way through to make sure that you are keeping your fortress clean, and also providing them with meat, bones to work with, fat to use for soap and cooking, and a bunch of other various materials that I don't think actually get used at the moment, like cartilage and hair and that sort of thing. The animals are pretty easy to keep an eye on as far as population goes. As long as you just make sure you watch how many male and females you get. Cats are the only real big problems, as they have a specific purpose in that they will go and clear out vermin. Well, they also happen to drag that vermin back into the fortress after their owners. So what happens is that if you have a large gathering of cats in your fortress, you'll have them dropping all sorts of skeletons all over the place for your dwarves to pick up. Well, I'm going to close out with the various shortcut lists here. Next time around we'll get to, we'll hopefully get to killing off these goblins, and we'll get back to operating normally. But until then, this is Ampillion. Shoot me some comments, some suggestions on what you want to see next in this here series, and we'll get right to it. Till then, have a good one.